Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll give people a minute or two to jump on, and then we will get started. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. A few housekeeping items before we get started. You'll see on the screen that your cameras are off, your mics are muted, so you can rest comfortably in that. And then we will have time for Q&A with Abby and Michael at the end of the conversation. So you're welcome to ask questions via the chat feature on the webinar. So to kick us off, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jen Leibison. I'm the content director here at Mortarr, also editor of our forum. And I will be joined today by two of my absolutely favorite people to work with. I have Durasein's Global Chief Growth Officer, Michael Bustin, and also Mortarr's co-founder and CEO, Abby Murray. We've had the pleasure of working closely with Michael and the Durasein team for a few years now, and even more so recently through our Mortarr in the Classroom initiative. And we've been so impressed with their approach to their product and to the industry at large, with how they work with their partners, with their clients, emerging professionals. And we've seen a lot of synergies between how our two companies approach and championing creativity. And so I'm really excited to talk with Michael and Abby today about bending the rules in design, not only for product design, but just how we think and approach design for the commercial industry overall. So Abby and Michael, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you two would like to turn your cameras on and unmute yourselves, then we will start our conversation.
Bam.
Michael, nice job. Nice
hello,
job.
hello.
Hello. Hi, Abby.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I think we have a really great participation. And so we're excited for the topic. So we'll get started with introductions, and no one can introduce themselves better than themselves. So Michael, we'll start with you.
Yes. Hello, Mortarr members and our creative community. Very excited to be here. Mortarr is one of our best brand partners. We love them to death. So I'm super excited to be here with everybody. My name is Michael Bustin. I'm the Global Chief Growth Officer for Durasein. I've been with Durasein a little over 3 years. And basically, I oversee all branding marketing globally. And I work relentlessly with all divisions of our company to grow our business internally and externally.
Awesome. Thank you. Abby.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Abby Murray. I am CEO and co-founder of Mortarr. Obviously, big fans of Durasein and our partnership. So happy to have you here today, Michael. Excited to hear your creative approach to the industry for sure. So we will have a blast today. My role in the organization as CEO and co-founder changes every day, but I have a significant lean into the creative side of the business and the marketing side. And so my primary day-to-day involves marketing and work with that team. So that will be my angle today, I guess.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, and one thing I love what I've loved about getting to know both of you is your kind of nonlinear backgrounds. And so my hope is that comes through your answers today. Otherwise, I'll be the first to ask a question in the chat. So to get us started, both Mortarr and Durasein lead with their creative teams. And so would love to hear from both of you about how you work with your team to brainstorm and get ideas moving. So Michael, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't think there's really any magic. With my team, a lot of it is really about trust. So I trust my team 110%. I think we challenge one another quite a bit. Communication obviously is something that's needed and required. I try to instill fearfulness in the team. That way, it allows them to think outside the box. Obviously, we research a lot. And one of Durasein's core, we call it our active values instead of our core values, is try and see. And so, I try to instill just that. Let's try new things. Let's try new ideas. If they work, they work. If they don't, great. We'll learn from our mistakes and we'll move on. So a lot of it is really we have a round table, all virtual, and we just kind of challenge and push and ask a lot of questions one another to just come up with new ideas, and we try it. If it makes sense to all of us and we agree, we go for it. And we've had some really good successes, and we've had some failures. We don't worry about the failures, we just move on.
Awesome. Abby, how about you?
Oh, that's so good. I know we were just talking earlier about what we miss about in office, and I definitely miss the camaraderie of whiteboard sessions. And I think we've been able to create a new environment with Zoom rooms, of course, and just do quick fire questions or creative coffees. The team is really good about doing that, and I'm able to pop in on some of them, and they're my favorite meeting of the week, I have learned. I think quick fire questions are really a fun place to get wheels spinning. We actually just did this with a branding exercise we're working on, and looking through those responses as a team, coming up with the questions and looking through those responses as a team, and just talking through what stuck out, what we can work with, and juices kind of naturally just start to flow there on the creative front. So that's a good just takeaway, especially in this remote environment. I think that's been helpful. We do a ton of article sharing, podcast sharing, sharing of ideas, good and bad. And of course that always keeps conversations open. But I love the try and see philosophy. We try to do that same thing, really. Best idea wins, but put all the ideas on the table, and we come up with some pretty cool stuff.
Definitely. Now, there's a little bit of a safety net when you're working with your teams, and, whether even if you've brought in new employees, there's a little safety net when it's internal. How does that approach translate externally? Like, Michael, when you're working with your clients, how do you, what is that process like when you have a new client come in and, you're looking to create new or to move forward? What does that process look like on your end?
For us, it's a little different, I think, because we're a manufacturer. So we really have varied customers, if you want to call them that. We do some OEM work, so private label work, and we have our brand division, our Durasein division, and we call in our branded division, we like to call people brand partners. So the traditional word is distributors. We make materials. It goes through traditional distribution. Some we supply direct. And of course, our distributors sell multiple materials. And the way their businesses are set up are unique and different. I think for us, it's really, our business really varies based on the customer. And we have some customers, some distributors or brand partners that just want materials. And we have some brand partners that challenge us to create differently for them. So one of the cool things about Durasein, and more so globally outside of the United States, is kind of we have a kind of a customized, tailored approach to working with new brand partners. And the interesting thing is, like, for instance, currently we're setting up distribution. We have a main brand partner in the UK that covers all the UK, and we're bringing online. It was officially just launched a week ago. A big brand partner distributor in France. We have the Netherlands, Saudi, India, all coming online at the same time. And they're very, very different. Our French partner just basically wants to be a logistics type company where they just basically, they receive product and they sell product, and that's it. Our brand partner in the Netherlands, in Holland, they're extremely design centric. So everything they do is top notch. So the partnership and communication with them and challenges are much, much different. We love, because we'll get into this a little bit further, we are a currently, Durasein is a brand focused or brand driven company. We really enjoy people that we align well with, which is why we get along so well with Mortar. And the same thing with our brand partners. If of course we want to sell materials, but because our brand and our mission, we're rooted in creativity. If we align ourselves with partners that are rooted in creativity as well, we challenge, we push, we create new, and that, so that's where things get interesting for us. Like I said, it's creativity. It's interesting because one of the biggest challenges, and I was talking to Abby about this a couple of days ago, I think, was alignment. One of the toughest things in business, especially marketing and sales, and even operations, is alignment. Mm-hmm. And my little team, we're pushing the envelope every day. We're thinking outside the box. We're challenging the status quo. And while that sounds cool and it's fun, and we're doing some really extraordinary stuff, sometimes there's a misalignment with other departments and divisions and things. So creativity sometimes feels maybe a little stifled because we feel like people aren't getting it or helping or extending the brand on. So we have to take a deep breath, look back and say, okay, this is what we're doing. We're doing this with the intentions of servicing our target audience. And we have to keep the creativity flowing for that. Because again, all customers are different.
Yeah.
Abby, you're smiling and nodding.
Yeah, no, I'm like, it's so true. And it's the soft side of the company, right? You have this ROI and you have these metrics, and you have the do's and don'ts, but then you have this creative division that is a softer approach. And that's the soul of the brand, right? So how do you measure that, and how do you quantify that? And that's really hard in our type of role. One thing that I think is important, and you mentioned, was defining the why, right? Why are we doing what we're doing? Help people understand within your teams what it is you're going to do with this creative approach, right? So we typically do a creative brief, even if it's a really brief, but just outlining who our target audience is, the purpose of this exercise, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a campaign, maybe it's a new project for you, a new product, but defining the purpose of this, the approach you're taking, who your target audience is, what your goals are, and how you're going to measure them. And we just do that before almost everything we do within the marketing team, whether it be our social campaigns or email campaigns, a fresh approach to a problem. We typically start there, and that helps the other teams understand what you're doing and what your vision is, and how this is going to translate to business value, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really why we're all here. But there is definitely a softer side to creative and marketing teams that not everybody gets. And so you have to put it into their language as well, which is helpful for everyone. So
definitely. Michael, would you say that's true when you're working with your clients on those out of the box projects, like that same approach internally holds true for the client work too?
Yeah, I think so. Again, it's as manufacturers, there's a lot of different components to our business, and um, at Durasein, when I came on board November 2018, I was given the opportunity to create brand, um, even though marketing was attached to that, and it was something I didn't realize how challenging it would be, and the so there's a creative side amongst the marketing and branding we do. There's also a creative component of the business itself, and while again we're manufacturers and people think of machines and robots, and we do have all of that. At Durasein, and I'm jumping around here. I'm getting into some of your questions. I'm pulling stuff from other parts of the presentation here, but we're less about we know we have a really good product. Okay, our material is one of the best in the world, but what makes us really great, I think, are the people. We're about people. We're about relationships, and at the core of our brand, we tell people, or it's defined, we're creatives for creatives. And what that means, as a manufacturer, is the owners that started Durasein, husband and wife, they're very creative entrepreneurs and individuals themselves. So, that was always there in our company. I think where we came into play, we being marketing, is we had to articulate that, and how does that weave into the whole company. We're trying to marketing. Not only are we marketing, but we're trying to really create culture, and it's hard. Branding, creating a brand takes a lot of time, effort, money, people, and persistence. Consistency, and when you don't have culture behind you, it's really, really hard. So here we are. We're trying to form a culture, but maybe taking the people that we have and really create a culture that's aligned with our brand. And so from a marketing perspective, a Durasein perspective, we're trying to what we were. We've been in business since 1999, and Durasein came online as Durasein 2016, 2017. I came on board late 2018, and so for us, creativity was always there, but now we're trying to elevate creativity. And like I said, it's there's creative within our department, but then there's creative in on the operations side, product development, material development, color development, on and on and on. So I don't know if I answered your question, but because it's kind of a little complicated, I think, because I have to identify the whole company,
Yeah.
and how creativity flows through the whole company.
No, it does. And I actually have a question from one of our audience members that fits in really well right now. But do you feel like designers experience that kind of similar push and pull when trying something new for a space? Like, Michael, or Abby, I'd love your thoughts on that, that kind of that push and pull to get, not only the idea heard and felt, but then kind of accepted and adopted.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, you want to go, Abby?
No, you go. This is your territory, but I can't imagine I've heard from designers the push and pull and how to create that as their idea, the client's idea. Yeah, I'm sure that's
again, the problem is fear, in my opinion. I've been in this business for 30 years, and everybody's scared to do something. And just like in our business, when I started, solid surface has been around for 53, 54 years. Corian, the big elephant in the room, Corian invented the material. And if you look at the solid surface industry, it was one of the widely used materials 70s, 80s, like in the world.
Mhm.
And then, of course, all these other new materials came about, engineered quartz and sintered stones and porcelains and natural stones and, laminates, of course, and on and on and on. And, when we looked at the industry from a marketing perspective, we saw that everybody was doing, we say same old, same old. And so we had this internal idea of 180 degrees. And what that meant was we were going to look at the competition and we were going to do 180 degrees from what was done or had been done for many, many years. People were doing what they were doing from a marketing perspective. And yes, they were marketing. And yes, they went to trade shows. And yes, they had pamphlets and catalogs and websites and social media, but we really want to do something different. And for us, it was build brand. And I won't get too deep into brand right now, but we wanted to build brand and we wanted brand to influence everything we do, from hiring to creating product to the partners we work with, was what was very important. Now, traditionally, people in our industry, people in my position or my team's positions, they get hired, they say, hey, we're a marketing team and we're going to market. We're going to create catalogs and brochures and go to trade shows and blah, blah, blah. We find that boring. Okay. But not only that, and you do have to do some of that stuff, but you have to truly, truly understand who your target audience is. Okay. You have to be in a capacity where, and again, I'm extremely fortunate and grateful that our CEO, who I report directly to, she's empowered me to think outside the box, do what I think is right, and make radical decisions. Okay, I do the same thing to my team. I empower them to make decisions. I empower them to try and see again. I empower them. I allow them to fail. I'm there if they need me. I always got their back. If they fail, it's my fault. Okay, because I allowed them to do whatever. So I take full responsibility all the time. But whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's being a designer, people are just scared. When you're a designer working for clients, clients nowadays are much more sophisticated because they have access. And they're out there, they're looking, they're researching, and they think they know. And they're looking at their competition. And I want that because my competitor has this, or I want that because so-and-so has that, or they have strong opinions of their own. And, and again, I'm pulling stuff from different questions that you were going to ask. Designers really have to trust themselves, approach every situation where they're trying to solve a problem creatively and be adamant about their decision. And sometimes their decisions will be right, and sometimes they'll make mistakes, but that's life, But I think as well though, and it's unfortunate because if you're a designer working for a design firm, an A&D firm, your what's the word I'm looking for? Your not freedom, but maybe your freedom is regulated, by those above you, by process and procedure. So from a designer standpoint, I say push as hard as you can, push to a point of uncomfortableness. Okay. You have to know when to back off. Okay. But that's how great things happen. Great things happen by pushing and trying and seeing, because you don't know, you won't know until something happens, and you might fail and you might be successful, but it's just the nature of the beast. When I was on the agency side, like Abby, and we would sit there with brand new clients. The clients would come in and they're like, we want this and we want that, we want blah, blah, we want, and we're like, why? Abby said it, like the biggest question we asked is why. Why do you want what you want? Do you, and then we challenge them. Do you really know, or do you think you know? Okay. Because everybody comes in, I know, I've been in the industry forever. I know. You need that, that second, third, or definitely the outside perspective, which is why it's very important to hire agencies, because you need a different perspective. And so it's just the nature of the beast. People are just naturally fearless. And I think you look at the greatest of the great, whether they're designers or whether they're business moguls, and the greatest of the great pushed. They risk and reward. They challenged. They took a big risk, and most of the time, or some of the time, it pays off, and some of the times it doesn't. So I just say feel confident in your decision, and present it confidently, and stand behind your decision, and don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid of rejection.
When I'm curious, because you guys do such custom products and you have such a unique approach, when say a designer comes to you and says, hey, we have this outlandish idea for this space, can you help us? Do you typically do renderings to help support their pitch to the client so that they get the approval, or how does that typically work for Durasein?
Yeah. So again, as a broad-based manufacturer, there's three components of our business, primarily. We call it our sheets division, our shapes division, and then let's call it our custom division, right? Okay. And within sheets, it's exactly, if anybody knows anything about solid surface, it comes in sheets. Like if you go to Home Depot and you see a sheet of plywood or a sheet of, gypsum board, sheetrock, it comes in sheets, okay? The sheets are sold whether direct or through distribution. The creative side of the sheets business happens with our makers, okay, our fabricators, those that fabricate the material, the woodworkers, okay, the metal workers, okay. Obviously, they work with metal, and the woodworkers work with wood. Solid surface fabricators work solid surface, and woodworkers do as well. So they're the ones really transforming the material. They're taking a flat sheet of material and they're bending it and twisting it and heating it and routing it and lighting it and fusing it and on and on and on to make the finished product. How do they work with their customers? Yes, shop drawings, CAD drawings. Some might have visualization skills. So that's on that side. On the shapes side of our business, and shapes we classify as pretty much anything three-dimensional. We do a lot of work worldwide with producing solid surface acrylic sinks and bathtubs and shower systems, shower trays. We might get into planters and some other things, but if anybody has ever seen a really cool agape or buffet tub, very modern acrylic tub, that's some of the stuff that we make, and we make lots of it, tens of thousands of units a month. When we have customers come to us, whether it's a hotelier or a rollout of something or a big distributor or something like that, they'll come to us with an idea or a picture and say, we want one of these. In order for us to make that, we have to produce a pattern. Off of the pattern, we create a mold. And then from the mold, we create the parts, the finished parts. So yes, something like that. Internally, we have, full CAD, visualization, 3D modeling, rendering capabilities, prototyping capabilities. So, all of that is done in-house. And the same thing with customization. Customization for us means, again, and this is where we, from a competitive standpoint, we're looking at other sheet manufacturers, the big names that are out there, the Corians, the LGs, the Starons. We're doing exactly what they're doing plus more. What I mean by that is we're one of the only few manufacturers in the world currently that actually produces all of our shapes in-house. In addition to that, we're one of only a handful of people in the world, and the other one or two that do what we do are not even in our league. They're way down in Group D. We have, from a customization standpoint, yes, we have custom shapes and we have custom colors and custom materials, from that standpoint, but we also have a really big production team in Asia, and our production team is 100 plus. And we actually produce products. So we do have let's call it a fabrication team of 100 plus in Asia that either does custom installations or the production of custom products. Custom product would be everything from solid surface cabinetry, 100% solid surface cabinetry, could be furniture, tables, desks, reception reception desk, on and on. Could be planters, or could be mirrors, or whatever it is. So when we're working on the customization standpoint, yes, we do have all of the digital tools at our service to help to help illustrate what this thing's going to look like.
Yeah. One thing I'd love to kind of get a take from both of you on is how designers can partner with manufacturers, and maybe vice versa, to make commercial design better. Like, I love the inspiration sharing, the idea that creativity has no bounds. So wondering from kind of both of your perspectives, what you see that that relationship looking like.
Yeah, I mean, for Mortarr, we're really a connector of the two. We're connecting the manufacturer with the designer. So again, Michael, this is probably a better question for you, but I think just from what Michael has just shared, listening is really key, I would imagine, and understanding what the client needs are, and then really pushing the envelope and sharing the why behind your approach is probably one place to start. But Michael, maybe I'll be inspired by what you said. Follow up.
Yeah, well, I feel, and what I've seen, and based on all my experiences, is first and foremost, designers should be more proactive and more ambitious and push harder. They should ask more questions. They should, push their manufacturers to bust out of, stagnation in the status quo. In order for, the reason for that is, for designers, so designers can do their best work. And, if they hit a brick wall with the manufacturer, then find another manufacturer that understands what designers want. I feel that it's all about the right people, alignment, communication, and again, the try and see mindset. Yeah. We did some research when we started when we first initiated our brand strategy, and we interviewed architectural firms and design firms in the US and Europe. And a number of them, what they said was they really like manufacturers that are open to customization. They're open to new ideas. And to someone like me, it's like, yeah, no shit, like that makes sense. But, ironically, most manufacturers are very traditional and conservative, and they don't think that way. It's like, here's our book of materials. This is our book of products. That's all we have. And that's it, So again, in order for great stuff to happen, for design to be great, for design to progress, you have to change, you have to push. And I think it's both the designer's obligation and job, as well as the manufacturers, to collaborate and really push the envelope. And what you'll find, I suspect, are manufacturers that are oblivious to what you're talking about, like, we just make whatever. And then you find manufacturers or makers like ourselves that are driven by creativity, and we can't get enough of it. It runs through our veins. And for us to see ideas and transformations come to life, is what fuels us every day.
Cool. Yeah. And I would imagine that some of your standard product lines are inspired primarily by that feedback and by that collaboration with the design community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think on the sheet side of the business, in our industry, as well as probably most surfacing industries, again, materials, from a material perspective, all building materials, and let's call them finished materials, hard materials, quite honestly, most of them are the same. Compositions, chemistry, features and benefits, physical properties are all about the same for the good manufacturers, for the good products. Okay. But from a material perspective, one of the things that's very important to us, that allows us to lead, is color design and development. And the entire industry is trying to get better at it, and we are as well. We're trying to hire Durasein 2.0. We're trying to hire much more creative people. We're investing in very, very high-tech, one-of-a-kind customized equipment that allow us to produce new colorways and new decors and new textures, patterns. And yes, ideas for us, come from a lot of different places. I mean, we embarked last year on we worked with a CMF designer, color material finish designer, and we invested in a color strategy, looking at macro and micro trends across the world. Everything from political trends to social trends to environmental trends to color trends, and on and on and on. And out of all that, we created the language then in some categories of which to design color to. Obviously, during that research, yes, we look to designers to inspire us. And it's funny, when we first started this thing, inspiration is always used. And typically a manufacturer like ourselves will use inspiration all the time. The way we approach inspiration is we create materials that are inspired by others. So it's designers' inspiration that makes us better and stronger. So we're watching what they're doing. We're watching what they're doing, what they're watching, where they're going, how they're shopping. We're looking at pop culture, and obviously, as our primary target audience, we're listening, and we're disseminating that information and translating that into products and materials that we feel will, again, help designers do the best work of their life. It's they're inspiring us to do what we do, to then give them the tools in their toolbox to allow them to do the best work of their life.
Yeah. And I mean, as a platform, in the industry, I guess I'd respond exactly the same way, listening to our users, watching their experience on the site. Of course, we have all of this data behind the scenes on our platform that allow us to see and respond to some of those things that they need to better do their job digitally. And so a lot of that is definitely through listening, whether it be through sifting data or actually receiving that feedback. I think a lot of times listening is hard because you're already iterating on the next thing. And so how much can you take in and how much can you do from feedback while you're building the next thing from feedback prior, right? So we have this vault that we throw ideas into. Long story there, we won't get into that, but whether it be from our subscribers or from the industry that we're seeing through our boots on the ground or with our team, etc., any idea that we have that comes in that we know is solid and great, we want to tackle it, we're not ready to do it yet because we're iterating on the next thing right now, we throw that into our vault, which is essentially just a list in our Asana platform or wherever. But then we can pick up off of those. And that's a great way to drive inspiration too, as you're iterating and planning for, whether it be the next product or for us, the next version of our platform. We can pick from those and then start ideating together straight from the vault, which is kind of how we do things on our platform, but essentially the same thing, just a different platform, I guess. So
I think one thing I just want to add to, having learned, more about Durasein and then knowing how mortar works too, it's the accessibility of what you've built, the accessibility of our platform, the accessibility, Michael, of the product and the team. And so I think that goes a long way in the designers and the manufacturers and the platforms partnering together. But you both mentioned kind of trends and that listening and watching and how those are guiding next steps. What are some of the trends and directions that you're seeing, from whether it be, new projects or maybe, what clients are asking and looking for? But Michael, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, so for us, obviously, as it pertains to our material, definitely new colorways, new patterns. Solid surface, as most know, started off as white, and then it went granulated or chipped, and then it got into movement, and there's variations of modeling and variegated kind of looks. And then now, because the quartz world is so strong in replicating the naturalness of vein, natural stone in capturing kind of the organic qualities of marbles and stuff, where they're creating realistic veining, that's transitioning into solid surface. So we introduced a new one last year. We have 2 or 3 in the works that will be out this year. As far as marbling looks, very, very difficult to make in solid surface. I think also what we're seeing is there's a new generation, which I'm very excited about. Again, because solid surface has been around for so many years, those that are in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s designers, they've seen solid surface, they've watched it throughout the years, they've used it. I'm not going to use that crap anymore, right? There's a resurgence in solid surface for a lot of different reasons. The pandemic has something to do with it as well, but there's a new generation that they're really unfamiliar with the material, because maybe when they were growing up, it was either natural stone or quartz or whatever, and then like solid surface, like they didn't live that era. And what people are finding now is, I mean, there's some really interesting, really cool properties behind solid surface, acrylic solid surface, 100% acrylic solid surface, that other materials don't have. For instance, thermoformability. So the material is a thermoplastic, so it can be heated and it can be shaped. It can be twisted and bent in all kinds of different shapes into multi-compound surfaces and objects, which makes it really cool. Also, the material has incredible translucency properties. So with the addition of CNC routing, so digital design, digital fabrication, including with backlighting, LED backlighting, you can create these dramatic designs, whether it's something that we're currently doing, these sophisticated parametric designs that are non-repetitive and are seamless and as big as you want to go. So with those properties now, you're creating these very tactile and kind of sensory experiences in spaces that were very hard to do before. The pandemic put a big focus on our materials. Why? Because our material, when installed, is seamless, very low porosity, easily cleaned, antibacterial, very high statement chemical resistant. But more importantly, because everybody is cleaning so much more with stringent chemicals, you need materials that'll hold up to that stringent and constant cleaning. Again, solid surface is perfect for that. And then, of course, everybody still looks for all the sustainable qualities of materials, and ours fits a lot of those categories, from low VOC, green guard gold, NSF 51 on and on. One last trend, though, and this ties into another question you had, a trend that I'm personally seeing that really excites me in architecture, design, and down to materials, is really technology. And I mean, just in my 30 years of business, I mean, I remember my brother-in-law, when I first met him, he was drafting on a damn table, and I'm like, holy moly, that was way back when. And now, now we have BIM modeling on and so on and so forth, and we're getting into virtual and everything. So I think, AR, VR, the metaverse, including wireless, technologies, and the big buzzword, the phygital. So the concept of using technology to bridge that, the digital world and the physical world, in order to create these really cool interactive experiences. To me, that's very exciting. And you're starting to see that in materials as well, which, going back to the translucent properties of our material, because you can embed things into our material, because it can be cast, you can add lighting a lot. At the core of who we are manufacturers, but really we're experts in surfacing technologies and surfacing materials, acrylic materials, and chemistry. And we have the ability, with our resident chemists, to manipulate the material to do all kinds of really cool things that we probably don't even know about yet. So I think it's just the advancements of really, the phygital world, and blending technology into everything from designing to materials to actual construction, whether it's modular construction, is very exciting, to me, having been in the industry for 30 years and seeing, what you had to do way back when, where now you can do everything on your damn smartphone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, digitalization is just nuts in our industry right now. So I would echo that for sure. And just the accessibility that brings to end users in the community, whether they're procurement teams, practitioners, designers, et cetera. It's certainly a trend that is not going away, and obviously accelerated by the last 2 years of our lives. Workplace, I think, is a fascinating transformation that everyone is talking about, and everyone is probably sick of talking about. The accommodation of work from home versus hybrid, that has been fascinating to watch. And I think that's why everyone's talking about it. So there's probably a lot of fatigue around that conversation, but you can't help but bring up that trend. That is fascinating. And no one really knows where it's going to end up. And so that's been really interesting to watch, and for us personally to experience, right? All of us here experiencing that change and that shift, not only in supporting the design community in the industry, in navigating that, but also ourselves in positions experiencing that same thing. I would say the sustainability factor would be the other thing I would mention. And of course, Michael, you've brought that up too, but really the end users in our industry, I call them end users in our industry are looking for simplified information. They're looking for digital access to products that meet certain standards. They don't want all of the extra information that comes with very complicated certifications. They want to know if it meets a certain criteria, and it might be a specific certification like Green Guard, or what we're seeing now, and our platform is beginning to accommodate, just kind of in the beginning stages of it, is alignment with pillars like the Materials Pledge, AA's Materials Pledge. Because what's happening is these design firms, A&D firms, are implementing their own pledges that align with certain pillars that are most important to their practice. And so these designers are tasked with sourcing and specifying products that meet their specific firm standards. So it's not necessarily just this certification for Green Guard or this Declare label or this. It's actually, hey, we want to meet this particular pillar, and it might be supporting human health or supporting social health and equity or ecosystem health, climate health. How in the world do these designers in this community find that information and find products that meet those standards, not just filtering down by those certifications themselves? And so I think we're going to start seeing these groupings of certifications that are classified based on those core pillars. because they're meeting the demands of these A&D firms and the way that these designers need to work and need to see the information isn't all of the certification information. It's just, hey, does it meet this standard? Check that box. Yes, I'll take it. So trustworthy, credible information that's really structured and simplified in the sustainable world is I think where the industry is going, and one of the biggest trends that we at Mortarr are watching and accommodating right now. So
definitely. So we have growth and sustainability. We have growth in digital. We're still reeling from the pandemic, and probably will be for years to come. Has there been something, or maybe a trend or something that surprised both of you, kind of caught you off guard, that you really didn't see coming?
oof, that's a hard one.
Yeah, I don't. I think. Yeah, I don't think so. Again, I think what we found through this whole pandemic and everything is just really, again, it goes back to technology. I mean, how many of us had? I mean, even back in the agency world, we had a couple of conference. We'd have conference calls. Everybody would stare at a little conference phone in the middle of the table, and now all of a sudden, like, Zoom is a verb, and like it's part of our lives. And so I think just again, back to technology, how it's really, I think, come to the forefront of everything, from smart watches and smartphones, and how that ties into health and for me, really, I mean, other than some of the multi-billionaires blasting off into space and spending 4 minutes up there, and coming back down is pretty cool. I think that's pretty wild.
Didn't see that coming.
But I mean, I don't know, I mean, other than that, I think, nothing really pops in my head.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was interesting to watch how quickly the hospitality industry adapted to the pandemic demands for wellness and air quality and all of that came with, getting hotels open back up again and airlines running again. And it was crazy. I traveled a lot for work, and I would always have this regimen thing I had to do so I wouldn't get sick traveling. And I remember the first time traveling after things started to open back up again, and I was like, oh wait, I feel good. I feel good. I didn't even follow my regimen, and I came home healthy. And I just have to believe that it was that quick adoption to air quality control and filtration systems and all of that, the extra cleaning protocol that hotels follow. And I think that surprised me. It's excited me. And just think about the healthier world that we will have because of the quick adoption, the industry adaptation, really, the industry has had to those demands that came from the pandemic. So that's a really cool, just little bonus, and surprised me how quickly they could make that happen. So
that was a good one. That was better than mine.
Every once in a while, Michael. Every once in a while.
I like that one. That was a good one. Damn.
Like, you use that with your next conversation.
There you go.
I'm gonna steal that one.
Yeah. So we're coming to the close of our hour, and I wanted to end on a really just kind of a friendly advice. So what advice would you give to students, give to emerging professionals getting ready to go into the commercial industries? What advice would you give to them on being fearless, on pushing boundaries, on kind of learning themselves in their profession?
So this one I'm very excited about. This question I was excited about because this is where I think I really shine. and I have to start this off with a quick little story. And hopefully my brand partner, Brandon Guthrie, who's on my team, is on the call right now, because kudos to him for this one. So when I was at the agency, there's this big thing of personal branding. And I listened to Simon Sinek and Gary Vaynerchuk and all these, people I get all pumped up and everything. I love them to death. So I said to myself, I have to have a brand. I have to have a personal brand. So we created this thing called the Bustinator, When I was in high school and I played basketball, people would call me the Bustinator, right? And I wasn't even that good in basketball. I was a great BMXer, but I was a terrible basketball player. But they called me the Bustinator. So anyway, so the Bustinator idea came up. So we built a personal brand around it. So I have a website, thebustinator.com. And, you get to know a little bit more about me on the Bustinator. That's, Bustin, Nator. But anyway, so we came up with these 4 pillars, which is perfect, I think. As I started writing some of my answers down, really, we adopted these 4 core pillars of the Bustinator. Bust through fear. Okay, bust out of stagnation, bust through the bullshit, and bust into something great. So a lot of that really applies to, again, what I'll add to that is, again, for young designers, first of all, don't be afraid to fail. If failure is inevitable, failure is going to happen. Some might say, fail fast, fail quick, get it over with, but you do learn from your failures. We've all failed. I failed miserably. You pick up the pieces and you move forward, or you can sit there and bask in your sorrows and say, "Oh, poor me, poor me." Be curious. As designers, you have to be curious. You have to ask why. You have to poke holes in things. Touch things, scratch things, bend things, smell things. Be curious. Okay. Definitely have self-awareness. Understand who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Okay. But self-awareness is important. Experiment. As creatives, experimentation, again, is almost like the failure side of it. Experiment, fail, learn from that, and move on. As everybody says in business in general, find a mentor. So find somebody that you're inspired by. See if you can find a mentor. And when you do, mentor or not, ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid. We've all been there. You're young, you're worried, you're going to ask a stupid question. Get over that. Because as you get older, you find out that's crazy and there are no stupid questions. And as old as I am, I still meet people that are scholars and they have all the degrees and all the experience in the world. And you're like, why? I can't believe the person just said that. That is a crazy ass answer. Be positive, optimistic, gracious, and empathetic. Empathetic, radical empathy is one of our active values at Durasein. I personally try to always put myself in somebody else's shoes. I'm not always the greatest at it, but I try really hard to think about others, whether it's something as simple as crafting an email and trying to get a response and knowing that the other person's busy, or maybe the other person doesn't understand or doesn't understand the nomenclature like I do. Be empathetic. Proactive instead of reactive. Again, you have to push forward. Challenge, as I said, and don't let others bring you down. Analyze the opinions of others, but don't let other opinions really guide your life. And lastly, just you be you. Like everybody tries when you're younger to be somebody else, most people, because you're trying to fit in. Really, I think we've all learned, even as old as I am, I've learned the importance of social media, those that are just themselves. And we might think they're crazy, they're corny, they're loud, they're this, they're obnoxious. They might still be, they're happy, they're fulfilled, and maybe they're even successful financially. Just you be you. I didn't leave you anything to talk about on that one, Abby, did I?
Way to go, Bustinator.
Yeah, whatever. The mic will drop. Okay. I was going to say something different, but now I'm going to change my mind. Because I think that, I'm going to say one thing, and that's embrace and get excited about the tasks you're given outside of your job description. Mm-hmm. Because there is so much to be learned from doing things that you don't really think you want to do. Or don't think you should have to do. It's amazing. I look back on my career and I remember the days where I was like, why do I have to do this? This doesn't make any sense. Why are they asking me to do that? And typically it's a form of flattery, right? They trust you to do things that are beyond scope. And so I think learning from that and just embracing that and running with it, you're going to get that's going to come back to you tenfold, no matter what it is, including cleaning toilets. Trust me. So just the openness and willingness to just dive in, get your hands dirty, and do things even if they're outside of scope is one thing that I've personally learned over my career and look back on and go, wow, really glad I had that opportunity. But I think honestly, our core values at Mortarr really boil all of this down into a few short phrases. And what we live and breathe by at Mortarr is very much a reflection on some of the learnings that us as founders had throughout our career, and our team helped us build these as well. But make it happen. Don't just talk about doing something, actually do it and try it and go for it. Find ways around hurdles to make things happen. Pursue the uncommon, do things a little bit differently, take that 180 view on things. We're planning for a conference and we're like, how can we do, what do we want to do in our booth? And we do this whole exercise of the unbooth. Okay, what does everybody do at a conference? We're going to do the opposite. Let's start writing these things down, and we create a plan and we become unique through that. Just one example, but really pursuing what others don't necessarily do, trying to do different things, sweating the details, paying attention to the details of everything, because it is in the details that great design happens. And that's a famous Eames quote that I've derived our core value off of, but it is so true. Ride the tide, be willing to ebb and flow with whatever comes your way, and with a positive mindset, which is also very, very hard to do. And I need to be reminded of often, like, oh yeah, okay, here we go. And then what I find is our most endearing and most important core value is mad respect. No jerks allowed. If you respect each other and are compassionate and empathetic toward one another, you're going to get that in return and just have such a happier career. So I'll leave it at that. Now we're 2 minutes over, Jen.
No,
Sorry,
that's
my
awesome.
derailing.
Oh, that's awesome. This is fantastic. And we were able to get through all the questions in the chat too. One though item, I hope you are both available mid-June 2022 for Neocon takeover with our friends at 6 Inch. So stay tuned for more information there. But thank you both so much for your time today. These were amazing conversations and messages for emerging professionals and the industry at large. So thank you both very, very much.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.